Owen Hayes checked his formal uniform for the third time, making sure the Earth Embassy insignia was straight and his credentials were visible. First major diplomatic function, don't mess this up, he reminded himself. Junior diplomats didn't usually attend events like this, but the Tsarite Empire's annual unity banquet required representatives from every allied world, and Earth's embassy was still small enough that even junior staff got pulled into formal duties. The banquet hall was massive, easily the size of a football field, with soaring ceilings decorated in what Owen assumed was traditional Tsarite artistry. Hundreds of guests from dozens of species milled around, and the seating arrangements followed protocols Owen had spent 2 weeks trying to memorize. Diplomatic Corps, third tier, tables 12 through 20, he muttered, consulting his datapad. He found his name placard at table 17, positioned near several other junior diplomats from allied worlds. Perfect. He could handle small talk with people as nervous as he was. Owen sat down, relieved to have navigated the confusion successfully. The Tsarite noble to his left nodded politely, and Owen returned the greeting, grateful that his translator was functioning properly. First Unity Banquet, the noble asked. That obvious? Owen smiled ruefully. You have the look of someone trying very hard not to make mistakes. Relax. The food is excellent, and unless you insult the imperial family directly, you'll survive the evening. They made pleasant small talk about Earth's recent admission to the Galactic Council, about trade agreements and cultural exchange programs. Owen was just starting to relax when the hall suddenly went silent. Every conversation stopped. Every head turned to stare at him. Owen's stomach dropped. What had he done? Said something wrong? Accidentally insulted someone? His mind raced through the conversation, trying to identify the catastrophic error. Then he saw his senior diplomat, Ambassador Chen, pushing through the crowd with an expression of absolute horror. She reached his table and leaned down, her whisper urgent and panicked. Owen, tell me you didn't sit there on purpose. What? This is table 17, Diplomatic Corps, I checked. That's not table 17. Chen's face was white. Look at the chair. Really look. Owen looked down and felt his blood freeze. The chair wasn't just ornate. It was different from all the others. Carved with specific symbols he'd seen in the cultural briefings but hadn't connected to furniture. The noble beside him had shifted away slightly, his expression mixing pity with horror. This is the consort seat, Chen whispered, her voice shaking. Reserved for the future bonded partner of Princess Kira. Owen, by sitting here, you've just made a formal public claim to bond with the Empire's most feared warrior princess. Owen's brain tried to process this. I made a what? A formal claim. In Tsarite culture, taking the consort seat is a deliberate declaration of intent. You've just announced to the entire empire that you intend to bond with Princess Kira. Chen grabbed his arm. We need to get you out of here before what? The voice came from behind them, and it carried the kind of authority that made everyone within hearing distance stand straighter. Owen turned and found himself facing Princess Kira herself. She was taller than the reports suggested, with the distinctive long ears of Tsarite royalty held in a position Owen's cultural training identified as intense focus. Her formal military dress was decorated with honors that represented 17 successful campaigns. Everything about her, from her posture to her expression to the way hardened warriors stepped aside as she approached, screamed dangerous. The entire banquet hall had gone silent, watching this confrontation. Kira looked at Owen sitting in her consort seat, studied him with eyes that seemed to calculate 1,000 tactical possibilities, and then spoke clearly enough for the whole hall to hear. You claim the consort seat. Do you understand the meaning? Owen's mind raced. He could claim ignorance. He hadn't known it was an accident he'd sat in the wrong place. He could apologize and back away, let Ambassador Chen handle the diplomatic cleanup. But Chen's panicked whisper had included one crucial detail. Backing away from a public claim was considered a grave insult in Jarite culture. Rejecting the princess publicly could cause a diplomatic incident that would damage Earth's fragile relationship with the Jarite Empire. His options were terrible: insult a warrior princess and potentially start an interstellar incident, or pretend he'd meant to claim the most dangerous woman in the galaxy as his future bonded partner. Owen had gotten through military officer training by staying calm under pressure. He'd learned that sometimes the best response to an impossible situation was to commit to the choice that caused least immediate damage and figure out the rest later. "I understand," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. Kira's ears tilted forward, surprise, he thought, though he wasn't certain. She studied him for another long moment, and Owen saw something shift in her expression. Not anger. Something closer to curiosity. "Then I accept your claim," she said clearly, and the hall erupted in whispers. Kira sat in the chair beside him, the claimant's seat, Owen realized with distant horror, and the symbolic pairing was complete. A princess and her chosen consort, publicly acknowledged before the entire empire. Ambassador Chen looked like she might faint. The Jarite noble who'd been making small talk with Owen had edged several seats away. And Owen sat frozen, trying to process that he'd just accidentally gotten engaged to the galaxy's most deadly warrior princess. "Breathe," Kira said quietly just for him. "You're going to need to make it through dinner. Panicking now would be inconvenient." Owen took a breath, then another. The banquet resumed around them, but he was acutely aware that he'd just made the most significant mistake of his life, or the most interesting choice. He wasn't sure which yet. The banquet proceeded with Owen in a state of carefully controlled panic. Servers brought elaborate dishes he barely tasted. Dignitaries offered congratulations that felt more like condolences. And through it all, Princess Kira sat beside him, eating with calm precision and occasionally making observations about the other guests. "The Centauri ambassador is furious," she noted, gesturing subtly with her fork. "He's been maneuvering to place his nephew in the consort's seat for 2 years. You've ruined considerable political planning." "I didn't mean to," Owen said, the words coming out more defensive than he intended. "I know. That's what makes it interesting." Kira turned to look at him directly. "You're the first person to claim the seat by accident. Usually, suitors spend months preparing, studying protocol, gathering courage. You just sat down." "I thought it was table 17. Table 17 is 3 rows over." Kira's expression might have been amusement. "You were very lost. Story of my life." Owen took a drink, needing the fortification. "Princess Kira, just Kira, we're engaged now. Formality is optional. Kira, I need to understand what just happened." Ambassador Chen said backing away would be an insult, but staying means you've claimed me as your intended bonded partner. "Yes." Kira set down her utensils. "In Jarite culture, the consort seat can only be occupied by someone willing to bond with the royal it represents. By sitting there, you made a public declaration. By staying when I challenged you, you confirmed the claim. We are now formally engaged until either you withdraw your claim or I reject it." "Can I withdraw?" "You could. But doing so publicly would be considered a grave insult, implying you claimed me frivolously or realized I wasn't worthy of the bond. It would damage both our honors and strain diplomatic relations between our worlds." Kira's tone was matter of fact. "And if I rejected you publicly, it would shame you and suggest I found you fundamentally inadequate, also diplomatically complicated." Owen processed this. "So we're stuck. We're engaged, yes. Whether we proceed to actual bonding is negotiable, but the engagement itself must be honored for a reasonable period." Kira studied him. "Why didn't you run when you realized your mistake?" Owen considered lying, decided honesty was probably safer with someone who'd won 17 military campaigns through tactical brilliance. "I panicked and thought staying would cause less diplomatic damage than fleeing from a warrior princess in front of the entire empire." Kira laughed, an actual genuine laugh that made several nearby guests turn to stare. You claimed me out of pragmatism and panic. That's a first. Is that bad? It's refreshing. Most suitors claim me either out of ambition for power or because they're terrified of appearing weak by refusing the challenge. You stayed because you made a tactical decision to minimize diplomatic incident. Her smile was sharp. I can respect tactical thinking. The banquet continued around them, and Owen found himself having an increasingly surreal conversation with his accidental fiancée. Kira asked about Earth, about his work, about how he'd ended up at the banquet. Owen answered honestly, too overwhelmed to maintain diplomatic filters. I'm a junior diplomat, very junior. I file reports and attend minor functions. I was only invited tonight because Earth's delegation needed more bodies to fill our attendance quota. He gestured at the elaborate hall. This is way above my clearance level normally. And yet you're engaged to the heir to the military command. Life is strange. Kira's expression turned more serious. Owen Hayes, you should understand what you've accidentally claimed. I am called the Empire's Blade. I've won 17 campaigns, killed enemies in personal combat, and am generally considered too dangerous for political marriage. Suitors who pursue me do so either for power or because they're fool enough to think they can control me. I don't want power, and I'm not stupid enough to think I could control you, Owen said honestly. I just don't want to start an interstellar incident because I sat in the wrong chair. Then we understand each other. Kira stood, and Owen automatically stood with her, basic etiquette that apparently was also correct for Jarite-engaged couples. The banquet is concluding. Tomorrow, we'll need to meet formally to discuss the terms of our engagement. My attendant will contact you with details. Terms, duration, expectations, whether we proceed to actual bonding or find a mutually acceptable way to dissolve this after a reasonable period. She met his eyes. You seem calm for someone who accidentally claimed a warrior princess. I'm very good at looking calm while internally panicking. Military training. Military. Kira's ears tilted forward interest. You have combat experience. Basic officer training, nothing compared to, Owen gestured vaguely at her 17 campaign honors. I mostly pushed papers and filed reports. I'm a diplomat because I'm better at talking than fighting. Talking has its uses. Fighting isn't the only valuable skill. Kira inclined her head, a formal Jarite farewell. Tomorrow, Owen Hayes, try not to sit in any more wrong seats. After she left, Ambassador Chen materialized at Owen's elbow, her expression mixing relief and residual panic. You're alive, she said. That's something. She didn't kill me for the insult, if that's what you mean. Princess Kira doesn't kill people for insults. She kills people for tactical necessity. Chen guided him toward the exit. Owen, do you understand what you've done? You're engaged to the most dangerous woman in the Jarite Empire. This is going to dominate diplomatic communications for months. I know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean. I know you didn't. That's the only reason I'm not shipping you back to Earth tonight. Chen's expression softened slightly. How did she seem? The princess. Owen thought about Kira's sharp intelligence, her unexpected laughter, the way she'd explained the situation directly rather than playing political games. Terrifying, he said honestly, but also surprisingly straightforward. She said we'd discuss terms tomorrow. Terms, good. That means she's taking this seriously. Chen looked both relieved and worried. Owen, the next few weeks are going to be complicated. The Jarite take engagements very seriously, especially royal ones. You're going to be scrutinized, questioned, and probably tested. Can you handle that? Owen thought about staying calm during officer training, about managing diplomatic crises with grace, about the surreal experience of having dinner with a warrior princess who laughed at his accidental proposal. I guess we'll find out, he said. In her private quarters, Princess Kira reviewed reports from her advisors about the human who'd accidentally claimed her consort seat. Junior diplomat. No significant family connections. Military background but nothing impressive. No apparent political ambitions. Everything suggested he told the truth. He really had just sat in the wrong chair and stayed out of panic and pragmatism. Kira had spent years rejecting suitors who wanted her power, dismissing those who were terrified of her reputation, and generally being valued only as a weapon rather than a person. And then a confused human had claimed her by accident and stayed because he didn't want to cause a diplomatic incident. It was absurd. It was refreshing. And Kira found herself genuinely curious about what would happen next. She'd accepted his claim partly to see what he'd do, partly because his honest panic was more appealing than calculated ambition. Now she had an accidental fiancé who treated her like a diplomatic complication rather than a living weapon. That was new, and Kira was very interested in seeing where this accident led. The meeting took place in a private sitting room that was less intimidating than Owen had feared but still formal enough to make him nervous. Kira arrived precisely on time, wearing what Owen had learned was her standard duty uniform rather than formal court dress. "You look like you expect an execution," she observed, sitting across from him. "I'm not entirely sure this isn't one." Owen tried for humor to cover his nerves. "I accidentally proposed to the Empire's most dangerous warrior. Executions seem possible. If I wanted you dead, you'd be dead. I prefer efficiency." Kira poured tea, apparently a Jarite custom for serious discussions. "We need to discuss our engagement, duration, expectations, and whether we proceed to actual bonding or arrange a graceful dissolution." "Dissolution sounds good," Owen said immediately, then caught her expression. "I mean, not that you're not, I just don't want to trap you in something I caused by accident. Consider it. Most suitors try to argue why I should be grateful they claimed me." Kira's tone was dry. "However, dissolution isn't simple. Jarite engagement custom requires a minimum 6-month period before either party can honorably withdraw. Breaking engagement earlier suggests the claim was frivolous or the rejection is based on discovering fundamental unworthiness. 6 months of being engaged to you, is that a problem?" Owen considered his options. "Honestly, I've had worse assignments. At least you're direct about expectations." Kira's ears tilted forward, amusement Owen was learning to recognize. "You're remarkably calm about this." "I'm very good at staying calm while my life spirals into chaos. It's my primary skill." Owen accepted the tea she offered. "What are the expectations? During these 6 months, public appearances together. You'll attend court functions as my acknowledged consort-to-be. We'll be expected to spend time together so observers can judge the appropriateness of the match. After 6 months, we can either proceed to bonding or arrange a mutual withdrawal citing incompatibility discovered through honorable courtship." "That sounds manageable, probably. You sound uncertain." "I'm a junior diplomat who accidentally became engaged to alien royalty. Uncertainty is my default state now." Owen met her eyes. "But I can handle public appearances and court functions. I'm trained for diplomatic events, even if I'm terrible at seating arrangements." Kira laughed again, and Owen was starting to realize that making her laugh might be his most valuable diplomatic skill. "Let me be clear about something, Owen Hayes. I am known as the Empire's Blade. I've won 17 major campaigns. I've personally killed a warlord who challenged me to single combat. I'm considered too dangerous for political marriage. Potential consorts spend years trying to prove themselves worthy or flee in terror when they understand what claiming me actually means. And I stumbled into it by accident and stayed because I thought it would cause less trouble than running away." Owen nodded. "Yeah, that's pretty much my relationship with this situation. Why aren't you afraid of me?" Owen considered this honestly. "I am afraid of you, a little. You're brilliant at military strategy, you've accomplished things I couldn't dream of attempting, and you could probably kill me 17 different ways before I finish this sentence. But being afraid of you doesn't change that we're engaged, and panicking won't help. So I might as well be calm and try to handle this like any other diplomatic situation. I'm a diplomatic situation now. You're my fiancé for the next 6 months minimum. That's definitely a situation. Owen took a sip of tea. Can I ask you something? Yes. Why did you accept my claim? You could have rejected it publicly, cited my ignorance of protocol. Instead, you sat down and made this real. Why? Kira was quiet for a moment, her expression thoughtful. Because I was tired. Tired of suitors who wanted my power. Tired of people who were terrified of my reputation. Tired of being valued only as a weapon. Then a confused human sat in my consort seat by accident and stayed out of pragmatic panic rather than ambition or fear. It was, she paused, searching for the word. Honest, refreshingly honest. I wanted to see what would happen if I accepted a claim made from honest accident rather than calculated strategy. So you accepted because I was pathetically confused. I accepted because you were genuinely you. No pretense, no political maneuvering, just a junior diplomat trying not to cause an interstellar incident. Kira's smile was slight but genuine. That's more honesty than I've received from suitors who spent years preparing to claim me. Owen processed this. That's actually kind of sad. That honesty is that rare for you. Being heir to military command comes with complications. Everyone wants something: power, status, protection. No one wants just me. She met his eyes. You don't want any of those things, do you? I want to survive the next 6 months without causing more diplomatic incidents and maybe avoid getting killed by angry Jarite nobles who wanted that consort seat for their family members. Owen's smile was rueful. Beyond that, I'm mostly making this up as I go. That's more honest than most court interactions I have. Kira stood, and Owen automatically stood with her. We should establish public presence. Tomorrow there's a military ceremony honoring last year's campaigns. You'll attend with me as my acknowledged consort. I don't know the protocols for that. You'll learn. I'll have attendants brief you. She moved toward the door, then paused. Owen, one more thing. Yes. If this becomes too much, if you genuinely can't handle the scrutiny or the pressure, tell me. We'll find a way to dissolve this honorably. I won't trap you in something you can't manage. That's considerate, thank you. I'm not a monster, just a weapon everyone expects to be one. Kira's expression was complicated. Try not to sit in any wrong seats at the military ceremony. After she left, Owen sat alone and tried to process his life. Engaged to a warrior princess for 6 months minimum. Expected to attend court functions and military ceremonies. Being scrutinized by an entire empire that was probably wondering what the hell the human was doing claiming their deadliest princess. His communicator buzzed with a message from Ambassador Chen. Report to my office immediately. We need to discuss your engagement. Owen sighed. The complications were just beginning. But as he replayed the conversation with Kira, he realized something. She was brilliant, direct, and dealing with pressures he could barely imagine. She'd accepted his accidental claim because she was tired of calculated politics and wanted something honest. He could give her that. He could be genuinely himself, without pretense or political maneuvering. If his primary skill was staying calm while chaos happened around him, he just found the perfect use for it. Being engaged to the Empire's blade was definitely chaos, but maybe that was okay. 3 months into their engagement, Owen had adjusted to his new reality with the same calm pragmatism that had gotten him through the initial accident. He attended court functions at Kira's side, learned enough Jarite protocol to avoid major errors, and discovered that being the human who accidentally claimed the Empire's blade made him oddly popular in certain circles. You're doing well, Kira observed after another successful public appearance. The court is starting to accept you. They're starting to find me amusing rather than confusing. I'll take it. Owen adjusted his formal jacket. Though I still get challenged to explain my intentions about twice a week. Only twice. It was daily when we started. Kira's expression held that subtle amusement he'd learned to recognize. You're adapting. They were in Kira's private training facility, where Owen had started joining her for morning sessions. Not to spar, that would be suicidal, but to observe and learn about the combat forms that made her legendary. Show me the defensive sequence again, Owen asked. The one you used in the Kelvar campaign. Kira moved through the forms with precise efficiency, and Owen watched with genuine fascination. He'd spent 3 months learning that her reputation as a deadly warrior was thoroughly earned. She was brilliant at tactical thinking, devastating in combat, and absolutely deserving of her 17 campaign honors. He'd also learned she was funny when she relaxed, passionate about military history, and lonely in ways she'd spent years hiding behind her reputation. You're not afraid, she said, finishing the sequence. Most people watching me practice look afraid. I'm impressed, not afraid. There's a difference. Owen gestured at the practice dummy she just demolished. That takes years of training and incredible discipline. Why would I be afraid of someone's skill? Because that skill has killed enemies. In war, against people actively trying to kill you and others you were protecting. That's different from you randomly deciding to kill me. Owen met her eyes. You're a warrior, Kira. That doesn't make you a monster. It makes you someone who's very good at protecting your people. Kira was quiet for a moment, then said softly, You see me differently than most do. I see you as you. The deadly warrior part is real, but it's not all of you. Owen smiled. You're also someone who gets excited about historical military tactics, who has strong opinions about proper tea preparation, and who laughs at my terrible jokes about diplomatic protocol. Your jokes are terrible. See, you're laughing right now. They'd fallen into this pattern over 3 months, public appearances that satisfied protocol, private conversations that felt increasingly genuine, and a growing friendship that neither had expected from an accidental engagement. We're past the halfway point, Kira said, sitting down on the training room bench. 3 more months and we can honorably dissolve this if we choose. Right, the honorable dissolution. Owen sat beside her, leaving respectful distance. Have you thought about that, have you? I asked first. Kira's ears tilted, amusement and something else. I've thought about it. When we started, I expected to tolerate 6 months and then gracefully separate. Find someone else to claim the consort seat. Go back to being the Empire's blade without the complication of an accidental human fiancé. And now I find myself not wanting to lose the one person in my life who sees me as more than a weapon. Her voice was quiet but steady. You treat me like a person, Owen. You're impressed by my skills but not afraid of them. You laugh at my observations and take my thoughts seriously. You're the first genuine friend I've had in years. Owen felt something complicated happening in his chest. Kira, I know this started as an accident. I know you claimed me because you sat in the wrong chair and stayed because you didn't want to cause a diplomatic incident. But these past 3 months, she turned to face him directly. I've enjoyed them, enjoyed your company, enjoyed being seen as a person rather than a symbol. If you want to proceed with actual bonding rather than dissolution, I'm willing. Owen processed this carefully. You want to marry me, for real, not just to satisfy protocol. I want to keep you in my life. If that requires bonding, then yes. Kira's expression was more vulnerable than he'd ever seen. But only if you want it too. I won't trap you in something you don't choose. Owen thought about the past 3 months, about learning to navigate Jarite court politics, about watching Kira train and being impressed rather than afraid, about conversations that started as diplomatic necessity and became genuine friendship. He thought about going back to Earth, filing diplomatic reports, attending minor functions, living a life that was safe and predictable and utterly boring compared to being engaged to the galaxy's deadliest princess. Can I be honest? He asked, always. When I sat in that chair 3 months ago, it was the worst mistake I'd ever made. I was terrified I'd ruined my career and caused an interstellar incident. Owen took her hand carefully. Now, I think it might be the best accident I've ever had. You're brilliant and funny and dealing with pressures I can barely imagine, and somehow you decided my confused panic was endearing enough to accept my accidental proposal. It was refreshingly honest, Kira said, her fingers tightening around his. I want to proceed with the bonding, not because protocol requires it, not because I'm afraid to back out, but because I actually like you. I like spending time with you. I like being the person who sees you as more than the Empire's blade. Owen smiled. I claimed you by accident, but I'm choosing you on purpose. If you'll have a confused human who still occasionally sits in the wrong seat, I'll have you. Kira's smile was genuine and warm, on one condition. What? You stop calling yourself confused. You're not confused. You're calm under pressure and adapting to impossible situations with remarkable grace. That's not confusion. That's competence. I'm good at pretending to be competent while internally panicking. That's what competence is, Owen. No one is actually calm all the time. We just choose to act with grace despite the chaos. She stood, pulling him up with her. Come. We need to inform the court that we're proceeding to bonding rather than dissolution. Now, is there a better time to announce that the accidental engagement is becoming genuine choice? Owen laughed, and Kira smiled at the sound. The bonding ceremony 3 months later was elaborate and witnessed by representatives from dozens of worlds. Owen stood in formal dress that still felt slightly wrong, watching Kira approach in ceremonial attire that made her look both regal and deadly. When the officiant asked them to speak their vows, Owen had prepared something simple. I claimed this seat by accident, but I choose this bond by choice. I choose you, Kira, not the princess or the weapon, but the person I've come to know. The brilliant strategist who gets excited about military history. The woman who laughs at terrible jokes and sees beyond protocol to genuine connection. I choose you, every day, by choice. Kira's ears tilted forward, emotion he'd learned to recognize as deep feeling. I accepted your claim out of curiosity and exhaustion with political games. I accept this bond out of genuine care and respect. You saw me when others saw only fear or power. You treated me like a person when I'd forgotten that was possible. I choose you too, Owen Hayes, not because protocol requires it, but because my heart does. The ceremony concluded with traditional Jarite bonding rites that Owen had practiced for weeks. When it was done, he was officially bonded to Princess Kira, heir to the Empire's military command, the woman known across the galaxy as the deadliest warrior alive. Later, in their private quarters, Kira pulled off her ceremonial headpiece with relief. That went well. No one objected, no one challenged, no diplomatic incidents. I managed not to sit in any wrong seats, Owen agreed, loosening his formal collar. Growth. You sat in exactly the right seat 6 months ago. You just didn't know it yet.